I think that's my problem is when I play games, I like to go hard. Like I said, I was speedrunning in World of Warcraft. Right now I'm playing Hearthstone Battlegrounds and like been studying VODs of like top ranked players, and I've climbed to like almost top 1,000 in Europe on that. Like I don't think I can play games casually. It's just not it's not in me like to just do that.
There's
Uh,
something kind of nice. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when players get competitive, like if that's part of your nature to be a competitive in gaming, that's when gaming really is just so addicting. I mean, I remember feeling that with hardcore Ironman release. I mean, I quit my job. It was just a seasonal job, and I was going back to school anyway. But I quit like a month early because I was just so addicted to those early ranks. It was so much fun. It was the best gaming experience I ever had. Was just that first ever Ironman experience for myself. Hardcore, one life. Every streamer's doing it. I'd go into Foe's stream. I'd go into, I don't know if you remember Lowlander. He used to stream that, and it just felt like this nice community event. And I was on the forefront. You know, I was like top 50 for a long time, and having that motivation makes gaming so much more fun. Definitely super unhealthy, but it's just so much fun. I kind of miss that in a way. I'm actually starting a hardcore group Ironman with four other streamers in the next week. So I'm kind of excited to see how my motivation changes toward this game. I think I've just been a maxed Ironman for way too long in all my grinds. Like the position you were in, where it's like, oh, go for an ancestral hat, or go for Justy, or go for Nightmare. Like that's kind of the position I've been in for years. And I
yeah.
think a reset, a refresh could really bring that degen side to me where I just want to like keep gaming. We'll see how it goes though, because it's definitely a different period now that I'm a little bit older than I was with the hardcore Iron Man release.
What happened to the 60K Sarachnis goal?
Oh, it was more than that. It was going to be like 500,000. But that was okay. So just to just to paint a picture for those that are like, what are you talking about? A lot of people know this, obviously, if they've listened to my podcast and stuff. But I mean, back then, everything that I focused on with the game was I want to get third age. Like, give me third age. And how am I going to do that? I have to go to Nightmare to get a mace to kill Sarachnis. And that's what my plan was. And technically, the mace wasn't the best thing to go for. It was actually a scythe. Scythe would have been a lot better. But this was a different era of the game where scythe wasn't going to be viable long term, because I would have had to do thousands of TOB just to fund the vials of blood, and then I would have had to pay just billions of GP for the blood runes, buying them at shops. And ultimately, what I figured was, okay, a mace on rate would be a lot more viable long term. And again, I knew deep down, and I would talk about it, that this game is ever changing. So something's going to just come out one day, but just better than Sarachnis for elites, because that was the main thing. I needed to grind out all these elite clues. And yeah, what ultimately happened is, I get my mace, get everything, start grinding, and then I realize, like, yeah, there's just much more to the game than this. And then I was also thinking, the more I grind Sarachnis, I'm actually losing time. It's just that thing that you brought up earlier, where the most efficient way to play is just to log out and wait until more things come out. And
But
yeah.
but like your Inquisitor Mace grind was memorable then, right? Because it felt
Oh yeah.
like it was a goal, right? It was a
Yeah.
goal that it felt like it was like it's such like the cop out answer. But like going back to like people, like you said this way earlier, I never quite commented on it. Like, oh, I'll just be happy when I get the drop, right? I'll tell you, like it's not true, and I'm not saying this like just quit the game and don't bother getting the drop, but like it really is just like it's the journey to the goal. It it really is, and it's been like this in every single game I've played. I've never once hit a goal in a game and gone, yeah, now I can have fun. It's always like, oh, what else will I do? Like, is there another goal? Is there another game I can play? And maybe that's just like what you just said, right? It's like when you look at games in a more competitive way, or you want to push yourself, or you're comparing yourself, right? Maybe it is just that. But I've always felt this way, even as a kid, right? It was like I'm gonna save up 10 mil and I'm gonna afford Guffins, and then I'm gonna AFK and I'm gonna get to these stats, and then it's always like the fun part was getting the money for Guffins.
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and then it's, oh, I'm going to get a Robin Hood hat, and then that's going to be awesome. Then I'm going to train my range to 99. Then you stop at like 86 because like you got the goal, you got the Robin, right? Like it's, I don't know, maybe.
No, you're 100% right. It's the same thing with life in general. I mean, just life. You need endless goals. Like it's just you need the hurdles to go over. That's what makes everything interesting, enjoyable, and worthwhile. And yeah, I mean that's totally it. You need these endless goals. It's the struggle is what's fun, and it's so backwards in a way. Sometimes you're like, if only I could remove the struggle, I'd finally have fun. And it's like, no, the struggle is the fun. You just don't know it.
Yeah, and it's really difficult, right? Because like I actually have this big like I don't know some other games company who potentially hires me at some point in the future. So we're going to hear me make this take and go, actually, we're not going to hire this guy now because he's an idiot and thinks he's all stupid. But like the amount of times have you seen a game just be so overly hand-holdy, right?
Yeah,
And it's like
yeah.
adventurer, you have explosives in your bag. You should throw the explosives. Well done, adventurer. Did you notice that explosives exploded the statue? And this is how you interact with our game world. And it's like just the or like, well done, adventurer. Now click on this next dialogue box to learn more. And it's like just this so hand-holdy, like over. And I'm just like the thing. I actually remember, like, I watched this so recently, and it resonated with me so much. Do you know who Day 9 is?
No, maybe I've heard the name, but teach
So
me.
he was like StarCraft Brood War Pro, like when he was in college and stuff, and eventually started making a bunch of StarCraft 2 content when that boomed. He was like one of the first streamers on Justin TV at the time, and he's like streamer ID number 2 or 3 or something. He's like OG, but like he did a lot of commentating for StarCraft 2, has done a lot of content, but moves a lot into variety gaming, you know, bit of Hearthstone here and there, playing MMOs and well, not actually playing MMOs, playing a lot of card games for the most part recently. But like he actually recently did a dabble into World of Warcraft, and he was talking about the difference between their retail experience and their classic experience. And obviously this is a seasoned gamer, right? This is someone who understands how games work, and someone who's very, you know, intelligent and into game design. So I understand that like a tutorial might not be made for him, you know.
Hmm.
But at the same time, he's so right when he was like comparing classic World of Warcraft, and he was like, I had nothing to see. I open my map and it's just, here's the area you've explored, and the rest is fog of war, and his curiosity guides him, and the high levels of enemies stop him, right? Where it's just like the game puts these barriers in front of you. It's a game. It's supposed to be like putting obstacles in front of you, right? And challenge you and go, well, I guess I died in 2 shots to a creature with a skull instead of a level. I guess I should go somewhere else and level up. And then he was playing the retail version and through their tutorial, and he was getting frustrated, and he was like, can you just let me play the game? Can you just play class? I just want to be a frost mage and freeze things, and I want to cast my cold spells and do all this, but he doesn't get a chance to because everyone's like, here's our big world, and here's why you should care about it. Here's our tutorial. And blah, blah. Like this whole tangent go on a bit. Like there's stuff out there. People want to look it up. You know, Day 9's World of Warcraft ramble. And really, I wasn't trying to talk about World of Warcraft in general, but I think the thing that is so different, and maybe this is just me, like as a boomer, as a 32-year-old man now, being like, I remember the old days when video games were hard.
Yep.
But I think there's some element of like the game needs to pose an obstacle to the player. It needs to present a challenge. It needs to push back and go, actually, like, no, like you're gonna learn to overcome this barrier, or like tough, right? And I'm not trying to use this as an excuse for unhealthy drop rates. I'm not trying to use this as an excuse to prevent EasyScape, right? It's a very nuanced, difficult thing, and some things probably should be changed and some things probably shouldn't. And people will sit on this line, and the line is different for everyone else, and there's this point where they think it's too far and not. But I think like the thing that I very much want to push back against is like the over trivializing of something, like to the point of like, you know, it just stops becoming a game, right?
Yeah.
I think players get very passionate and upset when they're on their current grind and it's going really badly, and they're like, this sucks, and it should be changed because of me. And I've seen like a bunch of funny posts and takes on Twitter as well, where it's like, I don't want I don't want dryness protection. I just want dryness protection for me. It's like actually like not it was a funny take, right? But I think there's a degree of truth in there where it's just like, please, game developer, iron out all of the negative experiences that I could ever have in front of me. Make it only positive. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun. But I think like if you're only looking for only fun, only enjoyment, only no challenge, they're cookie clickers for a reason,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't think that like I know that's not what our game is, and we need to toe that line. It's very difficult in game
Hmm.
design. Like I say, we've all got different lines, like as developers, as players, and everything. But like, yeah, it's I don't know. It's something I'm very passionate about. Obviously, as you could tell by this ramble, it's just like, yeah, I
I
think game.
totally
Yeah,
agree too. I mean, I think the best example is Inferno. Can you imagine you jumped into the Inferno and all of a sudden there's pauses and there's arrows and there's dialogue boxes saying, "Hey, this monster does this. Did you notice that when this did this, it did this?" Like how does that make you feel? Like just a bunch of tutorials as you're jumping. No, it's not like that at all. It's here's Inferno, have fun. Like you have no idea what's going on. I mean, you can watch guides, you can watch other people do it, but ultimately you jump in and it is just a shit show at the beginning. I mean, you have no idea what anything's doing. There is no explanation for anything. And that is really the beauty of it. That's so much fun. It's you guys do that so well with so many pieces of content. Chambers of Zarek releases. There is no tutorial. It's just go in, what the hell is going on, figure it out, have fun. Theater of Blood, perfect example again. TOA was a little bit nicer to the player experience because you really can just set the level back so far, and I think ultimately that was a net positive just for people getting into raids, because you do have to understand that not everybody is at that level where they can jump into something, and a lot of people are just scared of content because it is so overwhelming. So I think there's a balance to be had, but that is where the fun is. That's just you got to have you got to overcome things. I mean, overcoming things is such a big confidence booster. I mean, when people get their Infernal Cape, it revolutionizes how you play for almost everybody. If you really grinded out a cape, it was tough for you, you overcame it, got it. Now you just think you can take on the entire game. And having something like that in the game is so vital and important and healthy.
you know, another piece of content that I think changes your perspective of the game entirely.
What?
Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have you died to the Hun lift because you took a bad diagonal that took you all the way, dragged you across all the tiles, and you took 20, 20, 20, 20 and died because you should have actually clicked like slightly closer to yourself or something, you know? I think like that's like a piece of content that teaches you how movement works. I mean, I would say like I got my Infernal Cape, not really knowing how movement works, barely knowing how to lazy flick, right? And I camped a little bit with an SGS to try and milk supplies, like probably most people did back then,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think there's a lot of things that change, like your perspective on the game as a whole. And it's like it's not that it's like everything should be hard, right? And it's not everything should be easy. And we've said this multiple times in this cast. It's like there should be like I want more Krakens. I'm not saying I want things to be always hard,
Yeah.
but there is a degree of challenge. And I think like the Oblivion PVMers of the world are going to look at a TOA 0 and go like, well, this is a pushover. It's a walk in the park. It doesn't put up a challenge. But it does put up a challenge to some people.
Yep.
Like, you'll have people go out there and they've got a dragon scimitar and, they'll maybe be a couple of quests off their quest cape and they'll think, hey, I want to try some TOA. And you could argue, like, maybe they shouldn't have been a part of the target audience for a raid. Maybe raids should be more exclusive. I'm not really sure. Like, I mean, you I guess stated you had the opinion you thought it was good for the accessibility, but like, yeah, I think that I think those are the challenges that obviously we need to overcome as a design team, is making it clear who your target audience is for any piece of content, because then you're not trying to say, let's make it really easy and please everyone, right? I mean, I think you could argue that like the Colosseum basically said we're not going to be for casual,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that was better because of it, you know.